What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from The Quartering. While I don't think it will surprise anyone, Gina Carano has shared out a pretty interesting article revealing very obvious bias in Hollywood towards people of a particular political opinion. Now, to me, it isn't always easy to separate the art from the artist. It should be, but it isn't always easy. You know, I'm able to do it with music, but for Hollywood actors, sometimes they're just too much. You know, like Ruffalo's just, and Chris Evans, they're just too insufferable. But there are other people with more mild takes that are okay, and I get by it. Ultimately, skipping a movie or not paying for Disney Plus is not exactly suffering. You know, life goes on. There's plenty of ways to watch content. But I did notice that Gina Carano tweeted out, Hollywood Reporter admits the ugly truth. Hollywood in toto. Now, what's interesting here is it talks about the far left media outlet confirms the anti-conservative blacklist is no conspiracy. Roughly once a year, major media outlet corroborates every conservative's fears about La La Land. The industry actively discriminates against the right. The problem is only getting worse. You'd think an industry stung by the McCarthy era, when a time when communist sympathizers faced career ending or even jail time, might be wary of a historical reboot. And you'd be wrong. The same holds true for the reporters covering Hollywood. They also look the other way as the industry mistreats people based on their political ideology. A hyperbolic change? If that isn't the case, where's the outrage? Show us the countless think pieces about the horrors of the new blacklist and how unholy American it is. If an august body like the Hollywood Foreign Press Association lacks diversity, you'll find plenty of articles bemoaning that state of affairs. When Gina Carano dared to think for herself on social media, countless movie sites cheered on her possible dismissal from The Mandalorian, and of course, as we know, that worked. Agree or disagree, but the HFPA is but a tiny slice of the Hollywood pie, and an industry treating roughly half of the country like second-class citizens, and that's being kind, seems a far bigger story. And this is the thing. I still, and I've always said, like, I don't identify as a conservative, but I identify as, you know, anti-establishment. And right now, the establishment all remains of one political party. And therefore, it puts me in defense of people who may call themselves conservatives. And it goes on to say, and by the way, in terms of the, you know, second-class citizens, yeah, we already know. Like, they're not hiding that. The way they talk about 40 million Trump voters being degenerate losers, you know, and making fun of the poors and pictures of trailer parks and laughing at people in flyover states. This is not uncommon of late night television hosts and Hollywood actors. And the reporters don't care. A few years back, the Hollywood Reporter let this paragraph slip in a story about the Trump effect in La La Land. While THR spoke to dozens of Trump voters, few wished to announce their support, citing their desire to avoid backlash from coworkers. One makeup artist, for example, says longtime clients stopped hiring her after learning she was a Republican. This is such a weird mindset. Look, there are certain services or restaurants that I go to, or where, like, yeah, I can pretty much tell, you know, they're very left-leaning, and I don't care. Like, I don't. There are very conservative-type businesses, and I don't care. I just don't. You know, as long as they're not forcing their political ideologies on their customers, I couldn't care less. If their burger's good, I'm going to enjoy it. I mean, that's just the way most people should be, and I hope that most people are. The latest proof is an equally revealing morsel in a thoughtful Hollywood Reporter feature. The story takes a microscopic bite out of a much larger issue, but it's one that has profound consequences. The article explains, by the way, this is all via hollywoodintoto.com. The article explains how a select number of right-leaning projects are clearing up in the marketplace from the Daily Wire's Run, Hide, Fight to Amanda Milas's terrific documentary, The Plot Against the President. I didn't see that. THR argues, with little proof against it, that Hollywood is leaving piles of cash on the proverbial table by ignoring right-leaning audiences. It's a question every studio and network executive should be asked, but will give the far-left THR credit simply for mentioning it. Well, the Hollywood Reporter also referred to Asians getting awards as breaking the bamboo ceiling today. So, I mean, I guess a little bit of a mask slip from the Hollywood Reporter. It's weird, this is where, like, I don't like to go too far down this road in terms of, like, I don't want entertainment that enforces my current political beliefs. It's one of the reasons so many people will come to me and say, like, oh, have you checked out Tom McDonald? He's so great. Yeah, I mean, like, I give him enormous credit for succeeding in a market that just quite simply is stacked in every possible way against him. But, like, I'm not, like, looking for music lyrically that literally quotes Ben Shapiro. That's just not what I want. I want lyrics in music that make me think, or that make me try to dissect, like, an allegory, maybe what they're talking about, or something like that. Literally singing about the clown world, it just isn't for me. And by the way, that isn't to disparage anyone who likes his music or supports him. I know a lot of my viewers do. Also, I don't really love modern rap music either. But I want to consume stuff that makes me think, not that reinforces my bubble. That's not the buried lead that matters most, though. Quote, Daily Wire isn't alone in chasing the politically right-leaning movie audience, which is distinct from but can overlap with the lucrative faith-based film market. More than 70 million Americans voted for Trump in the November election, and at the moment, there's little Hollywood content created that directly appeals to them. Again, I don't... Just because you voted for Trump doesn't mean you want, a Sorbo religious movie. I know a lot of people do enjoy wholesome entertainment, especially parents who want, their kids to watch something other than WAP music videos. So there's absolutely, I'd be willing to bet, like, the Hallmark Channel cleans up on, like, wholesome Christmas movies and wholesome content. It's really few and far between. So yeah, it is a huge opportunity. Quote, that leaves a big opening for those willing to risk ostracization from the rest of the industry, emphasis added. Yes, by entertaining 70 million Americans, you might hurt, if not crush, your Hollywood career. Let that sink in. But again, I don't like the idea of lumping 70 million Trump voters into these people are all conservative with traditional conservative values. I don't think that would apply. In fact, when you look at Trump voters, I think it applies even less than your traditional Republican voter. A lot of people voted for Trump because he felt like something different. He felt like a poke in the eye of the establishment, and it had very little to do with, say, a traditional conservative opinion that he might have. A lot of Trump voters still enjoy folk music and indie movies and Wes Anderson films and things like that. I think it's a little presumptuous to lump them all together. There's another nugget to be found in this piece, one supplied by a savvy conservative just entering the film marketplace. Milas herself it points to a wave of new content aimed at a niche audience starved for attention, all 70 million of them. Quote, if Hollywood's going to make an ideological business decision to not produce content that the majority of America wants to see, I don't have any problem with it, Milas tells the Hollywood Reporter, because they're leaving a giant pile of money on the table, and my company has no problem taking that. And, I don't disagree. Do I think, I wonder sometimes if Hollywood looks at it like people who are far left-leaning will actively not go out and see something. We saw these people push Gina Carano out of the business. People on the right seem to be, bizarrely, more tolerant, or people in the center are more tolerant. Like, will I see a movie with somebody that I really, really disagree with politically? Yeah, if the movie looks good, but maybe Hollywood just projects their own insanity on people. And that's why, movies have been dreck lately. There haven't really been any worthwhile movies coming out, notable movies, because everything is a safe play to the mainstream narrative, or of course a reboot. And I'm sorry, but I'm not going to spend my money on reboots. I'm not going to spend my money on the same movie repackaged that I've seen 100 times before. That's not being a conservative or being a liberal. That's just being smart with your money. I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.